Welcome to the Section 111 podcast with your host, TJ Shoemaker. And welcome to another edition of the Section 111 podcast. I'm your host, TJ Shoemaker, and I'm joined today by Adam Luehrman. Adam, I hope I got your last name correct there.
You got it. You got it.
All right, perfect. Sweet. So, Adam, you're a current Ohio University football player,
Correct,
and you also happen to be a former high school teammate of the most recent Heisman Trophy winner. So that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it still doesn't feel real. Almost kind of. That's how I take it right now.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Obviously, I just mentioned you played with Joe in high school, but how long have you known Joe? And what's his personality like off the field?
So I've known Joe since I was in second grade, so 7 years old, or 8 years old, 7, 8 years old. He moved when his dad got the D coordinator job at Ohio University, and he would on baseball, we would practice, and then he showed up to our summer teams practice, and then going into that next year, he transferred to elementary schools in the same district to my school, and that's as long as I've known Joe. We've played football and sports together all the way from third grade to senior year of high school.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's his personality like on the field? I know, from my standpoint, watching him from a distance, he seems just like a real cool, calm, collected guy. What does he really possess as far as leadership, and how did he kind of lead you guys back in high school?
He wouldn't do it as much on the field, just during practice and stuff. He wanted to make sure everything was perfect, no drop passes, no false starts, everything like that. We would always chase after the perfect practice, the perfect game where we executed everything flawlessly. And so I think that's a big reason for his success, just his case for perfection, just wanting to do everything right. And so that's how I say he's on the field. And then when it comes to him off the field, he's a pretty laid back guy, but he's still super dedicated. His sense of humor is as you know, he just he's obsessed with cartoons. As you saw, he wore SpongeBob socks to the Heisman ceremony.
Yeah.
So that's type of his sense of humor. But then when it comes to practice time or film time, it's just all eyes on the film, on the practice tape, everything. So that's how he was able to lead that team, because we're okay, if Joe's locked in, there's no messing around. You gotta buckle down and know your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you watch LSU's offense this year, that's definitely believable that he's kind of a perfectionist in the sense that LSU's offense was always clicking this year. I mean, there wasn't a game that I watched where I'm like, man, LSU needs to get something going offensively. That was never the case. So, the perfection that he expects from himself and the offensive line and just the team in general, you can definitely tell that's there. So, but that's really good insight from you. So I appreciate that.
No problem.
I wanted to ask you about the whole transfer process with Joe. I know everybody knows that, he started out at Ohio State. Well, everybody except for Colin Cowherd, probably. I don't know if you saw that, but
I saw that.
He's like, wait,
best moment.
He's like, he was at Ohio State with you, talking to Urban Meyer, and Urban's like, yeah, but
he's like, well, Joe was here, and then he's just didn't have anything to say. Urban explained.
He was stunned. He had no idea what to say. The look on his face was priceless. But so yeah, obviously he was at Ohio State and announced that he was going to transfer after he graduated. And I just wanted to ask you about if you had any insight as to what schools he was considering other than LSU, obviously, and if you ever talked to him throughout that process at all.
Yeah. So he looked at Cincinnati and North Carolina. Cincy was appealing to him because of the Luke Fickell connection. He was a D coordinator while Joe was there for, I think, his first 2 seasons, or at least 1 season. And so he looked at that. And then he also looked at UNC due to he saw that Mitch Trubisky had just been drafted that year, the first round, by the Bears. And he's also from Ohio. So just like, okay, that would be one of my possibilities. Like they obviously have the right tools and preparation for me to become a draft pick. And then when it came down to like why he chose LSU, it's because like he felt that was the best place for him to like succeed at the highest level, to become a Heisman winner, to become a national championship. And he also like heard like, okay, I can turn this offense around. We're going to bring in the right people, the talents there. And so that's what I felt like his thought process was on the whole transfer situation, and seems to have worked out good for him.
Yeah, definitely. And it was crazy. Like when I first heard that he was going to LSU, my initial reaction was kind of like why. I was just asking myself why, mainly due to before he got there, LSU quarterbacks didn't have the most success. You could go
Right.
all the way back to probably 2007. Matt Flynn was probably the last somewhat successful quarterback that LSU's had, and when he chose there, I just asked myself why. And I remember texting my brother about this, and I said, "quote That's where quarterbacks go to die." After all the flops that they've kind of had over the years, I was concerned about Joe going there, but obviously he saw the picture a lot better than I did, and I'm glad that he found that success there, and man, I'm really impressed with what he's done.
Yeah, me too. Just like I think he knew, like, okay, they're gonna change this whole offense and build it around all their key pieces, which was something I don't think a lot of people saw, and obviously he did. So
right. So not only did he choose LSU, and with the mindset that hey, we're going to go in, change the offense, and win a national championship, a lot of people kind of forget that last year, LSU's offense had its ups and downs.
Right.
Compared to this year, what do you think was the biggest change, and what was the biggest reason that they had so much more success this season?
Well, I think it is letting Joe just sling it, and then also of course, the passing game coordinator and receivers coach Joe Brady, who came over from the Saints. So like I've never watched a team like with like that much confidence on third down, no matter what it is, like third and long, third and short. So I feel like him coming in there and like just changing up their whole passing game and like I guess modernizing the offense a little more.
Yes.
And then like Ensminger being able to like say, hey, okay, like I need help, so like that's a big part of both of them. Like for him to accept, like, okay, this guy can help me. I just need to listen, and like I feel like those two working together is really what's grown this offense into what it is.
The addition of Joe Brady coming in, as the passing game coordinator, I feel like that's really done them wonders. And I actually got to see Joe play firsthand last season at Florida, and in that game, he played all right. As far as the entire game goes. Towards the end, he threw a couple picks, which one of them was the game sealing pick six, which wasn't a bad throw. It was just a better play by the defensive back. But in the month of October in 2018, Joe went the whole month without throwing a touchdown pass.
Yeah,
so that just speaks to the struggles that the 2018 LSU offense had, mainly due to the scheme and everything. But like you said, they've modernized it, and this year they're just they put Joe in command. It seems like, and he's really taken on that role and is running with it.
Yeah, of course they're amazing receivers with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Of course, that whole receiving core is just ridiculous. My opinion, the best in college football. They've taken a huge step as well. So that, like, just seeing those guys out there and just they literally catch everything, get open. They're always open. So that really helps Joe and then makes it easy calling plays.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that I noticed in LSU's offense this year compared to last year is last year there would be times where they would only have 2, maybe 3 receivers running routes, and now you've got 5 guys running routes, and giving Joe a lot more options, and he's obviously able to pick apart the defense and read the safeties and make the plays that he needs to. But I credit Orgeron for noticing the change that was needed and addressing those needs. So
Right.
props to him.
Yeah, that's where it all starts, in my opinion. Just him being able to say, "Let's do this," and pull the trigger.
Right. So right now, LSU's obviously preparing for the college football playoff. I wanted to ask you, since you know Joe pretty well, what's his mindset right now going into the playoff? With championship aspirations. And I ask you that because back in high school, you guys unfortunately came up short of a state championship. Do you think that kind of weighs in the back of his mind at all?
Oh yeah, I think he thinks about that game every single day of his life. It was a last minute loss, and he keeps that in mind whenever he's preparing, whenever he takes on the field. Because after that post game interview we had, sitting up there, he said like, "This is the worst day of my life. Like, this is horrible." And so this is definitely, he's a feeling he doesn't ever want to have again. So I think he's doing everything he can do to prepare to avoid that feeling again.
Yeah, I feel like I would probably feel the same way.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you have any insight to this or not, but how much do you think it would mean to Joe if he was able to face Ohio State in the championship?
I think that would be. I think he would love that. He has nothing against them, as you see. Still very good relationship with them, but being able to play against your own school and show them like, hey, this is what you passed up on. But of course, Ohio State had great quarterbacks, like the Dwayne Haskins situation is like, obviously Dwayne Haskins is a great quarterback, so like that could have gone either way.
Right.
And I don't think he holds that against them at all. But like just being able to show like, hey, like look at me, this is what I can do. This is what you missed out on.
Yeah.
I think he'd definitely look forward to that.
Yeah, definitely. And as much as good of friends as he is with the Ohio State players and the coaching staff and everything, I guarantee you that if that's the matchup, that's the one game that he wants to win more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
I've played against some of my former teammates before, and it's a really weird thing to do, but that's one game that like they're not your friends anymore, and
Right.
and so winning against them feels better than winning against kids you don't know. And I think Joe realizes that, and I think that's part of the reason why he may want to face Ohio State more so than Clemson.
Yeah. That's the one big thing is just him like knowing, because like he had his haters at Ohio State, but mostly it was great support when he left, and just like he's always had a chip on his shoulder, and no matter who it's coming from, he's always looking to prove them wrong.
Right. So, as far as the people in Athens, Ohio go, if it came down to Ohio State and LSU, who are they rooting for?
They'd be rooting for LSU all the way. We have a good amount of Ohio State fans here, even with Ohio University here. I'm not an Ohio State fan personally, but I definitely feel the locals would have definitely attached to LSU more. There's LSU stuff everywhere in town. They just painted uptown right in the middle of Ohio University. There's a graffiti wall, and someone just put up a mural, and it's like a painting of Joe holding the Heisman, saying congrats and thank you for like sparking this food pantry initiative. And
Wow. Yeah.
they just put a billboard congratulating him on the Heisman as you're entering town. On 33 from Columbus, just right outside the plane, saying hometown of like your Heisman. And so they just revealed that today, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I did read that they're also naming Athens High School football stadium after Joe also. Is that right?
Yeah, they are. They announced that, and they're going to have a ceremony after the season sometime in the winter or fall, or the spring or winter. I'm not sure when that will be, but that's still, when they announced that, I'm like, wow, it's going to be weird walking on it. It's like saying, oh, this is Joe Burrow Stadium. Like, this is my teammate, not. It's going to be hard to call it that, but not because, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. That would be kind of weird. But, Adam, I just got one final thought for you before I let you go. If you could describe Joe Burrow in one word, what would it be?
I would just say, I guess 2 words, ultra competitive. Just everything he does in life, whether it's video games or a made-up game we played or something in the backyard, it's literally everything he can do possibly to beat you or whatever team he's facing, and that's just the way he is. Like, he does not want to lose. It's his least favorite thing, no matter what.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Adam, thanks so much for joining me here on Section 111.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Good luck to you guys and the rest of the Ohio University Bobcats in your all's bowl game.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And that was Adam Luehrman, current Ohio University football player and former high school teammate of Heisman Trophy winner Joe Burrow. I'd like to thank Adam for coming on and giving us some insight into Joe Burrow's career up to this point. And in this episode, I hope that you guys learned something, and I hope that you gained some new perspective. And most importantly, I hope you all were entertained. But thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Section 111 podcast.